welcome to another edition of Conversations with the Universe through Soul Regression, where we connect with your higher self, your divine self, your spirit guides, your angels, and we get answers to a lot of questions that you might have, such as, what is my purpose? Or what am I supposed to be doing here? Why do I have these people in my life? What's going on in the world, especially right now because of all of this is happening in the world? You may have questions wanting to know what's going on. So this gives us a platform where we can have discussions talking about all of these many things that come up. We also have conversations regarding past loved ones and people who crossed over and where do they go. We have had connections with those souls that have crossed over and gotten information and have conversations with them as well. So I would like to welcome my guest today is Karen Jones, who was recently in for a soul regression session. And so welcome, Karen. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Shay. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. And I'm so excited to have this interview because you had such an amazing session. So thank you for sharing, allowing us to share. Yeah, and so I would like to, if you could, just tell us a little bit about what prompted you into wanting to have a soul regression session. I know, honestly, when we first met, it kind of became, you probably didn't even know what it was, and then I asked you if you wanted to exchange services. But did you have any idea, you know, after the conversation, what to expect or why you would want to have one?
I had been exposed to hypnotherapy before. I had a session to quit smoking, actually, many years ago, which was actually pretty effective within about 3 months after the session. So I knew that there was something to it. And then I also had a past life regression many years ago, but I barely remembered it, and it was very fast, and it actually had a lot to do with my life at that time. But when I met you and I wanted to exchange with you, I didn't realize how deep you went, because you are a thorough therapist. I mean, you are passionate about your technique and about how powerful it is. And I picked that up from you, and I was like, oh my God, I really want to try it now, because I was pulled in by your passion for it. And I was just so curious because I hadn't gone into depth of how deep it could go and how profound it could be on a person's life. And I soon learned how much it is that powerful. So she's not, you know, speaking into the world. She really is true. It's an amazing technique.
Absolutely. And I love what I do. And it's like, I get to go to work every day, and it's not even work though. You know what I mean? When you go and do what you love to do, it's not like going to work. So I am very passionate about it, and I really love what I do. So coming in to have your session, did you have any expectations about what to expect coming into it, or did you expect it to be a certain way and found it to be totally different?
I tried not to have expectations. I knew that you were going to regress me, so you were going to, you know, take me into a different realm. And I recently have been very stubborn about meditating every day. So it's like something I do every day. And I've been doing that for like over a year now. And so I knew about going into that space of that quiet space, and that space where the magic happens. So I was just willing to go there and allow myself and allow you to guide me, and allow whatever other energies that wanted to come through and to get out of the way. I just wanted to get out of the way and allow what I wanted to know. Because luckily before the session, Shay asked you to, you know, come up with some questions. What would you like to ask? And for me, the question is the most powerful thing on the planet, because through the question, you get information. When you have answers, all you have is answers, and you can't be exposed to whatever the universe or God or whatever you want to call that intelligence, what they are willing to make available to you. if you're constantly in the answer, then you never have, you're never exposed to the possibilities. So I believe profoundly in the question. And you said, oh, you want questions? Sure, I got plenty of questions. So in fact, I went overboard. I think I asked 30 questions, not 20. But I'm just excited about, perhaps having, more opportunities to finding out more about myself and about what I'm supposed to be doing next,
Yeah. And so from that, can you just share with our audience a little bit about some of the questions that you did ask and what were some of the answers that you got from them, if you just recall off the top of your head?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things for me is, I've been singing professionally for over 30 years. And I knew that was my path. I knew actually that is not true. I knew that I could sing at a very young age, and I didn't think I was going to choose to be a singer. I kind of just chose it because it was easy and it was accessible, and I was good at it, so I chose it. But when over the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years, I was getting to the point where I was tired of traveling, tired of being on the road and gigging, and wanting to know what was next in my life. And I've always been an ardent student of the occult, of the mystical, of mysteries, and what is difficult to explain for science. So I've been into consciousness and awareness and all of that good stuff for many, many years. But in the back, it was in the front stage was singing, and on the back burners was all my other research. And so for me, it was, I wanted to find out more about sound, because I had been, I'd had several psychiatrists around, you have an ability with sound. So I delved into studying sound, and what is sound, and what is not just the music, but the sound that people, make, and vibration and frequency and all of that. So I wanted to know if that was the right path, if I was on the right path, if this was something that I really should be doing. So I got this huge answer in my session, and it was after singing and going through a life, and I left that body. I catapulted into space my light body, the soul, the true me, catapulted into space, and I ended up in this whole other galaxy. I know this sounds really bizarre, but it was fascinating. And when I got into this space, Shay wisely guided me to look around and say, okay, so who's there to greet you? And there to greet me was this Merlin type character. And I believe that that's an image that is easy for us to perceive and form. And he was a buddy, and it, whatever. And we were comrades, and I asked, and you wisely guided me to ask him. So, Karen has a question about the sound and music stuff. And he said to me, you are sound, you are music. That is everything, that is who you are. And then all of a sudden I had this overflow of energy or awareness, whatever you want to call it, in every angle of the universe. I had this awareness of space that I've never perceived ever. And every angle, every iota of space was filled with sound. It was like a 100 million trillion. And I felt it move through my entire body and just vibrating through my body. And it was like, this is who you are. Don't ever doubt it. Don't ever question it, because this is who you are. And my whole universe completely shifted. I'll never forget it, because it was so intense and so powerful. And it was amazing, truly amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing too. It's like, and when people are going through this, I just want to jump in their heads, because I want to see and experience what they're going through, because it's so profound and so amazing. So.
It really was. It literally shifted my entire world.
Yeah.
Because now I don't have any doubts.
Yeah. Now you know what your path is, and you know where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do with it. And yeah. So is there anything else in that session that just stands out to you that you want to share with our audience that just was profound, besides meeting?
Right. Getting the answer to that big question, because that's a pretty big question. And then I had also asked about my liver, because I've had gallbladder issues in the past, of which I healed myself naturally. I cleaned out my gallbladder through a very healthy way. But I still was asking about, my liver. Is there something I need to be aware of? And when we did the body scan, because one of the things that Shay does is she asks your higher self to body scan you. And so when we went through my body, we got to the liver, and there was something there. And my higher self took a moment before it was finally revealed what that was. And it was a portal in my liver. And I literally found myself going into the portal. It was like a hole. I could see it. It was like there was a rim. It was a white rim. And I went into this portal, and on the other side of the portal was this, how to explain this? It was like a group of lights, like rods of light. And then there were colors beaming around these rods. It was almost like one of those Chilean music pipes. That's kind of what it looked like. And then all of a sudden, they said that they were the Council of Healing, or healers. And then there wasn't words, it was energy. They were communicating to me, and they came back up through this portal and into my chest, into my heart area. And my whole heart area just exploded with energy. So it was my heart area, my throat area, and the solar plexus, it just got this beam of energy coming out. And it was so intense, it was almost uncomfortable. And Shay wisely, once again, said, can you turn down the intensity a little bit? And it finally started to calm down. It was just this beautiful sensation of heart energy. Like, this is what you've been asking for. We're turning this on. We're elevating this for you. We're amplifying this for you, so you know that this is where you function from, or it's almost like they turned something on in my body so that I can function more from this part of myself. It was really intense. That was the second thing. I wasn't expecting it, because we were, it was closer to the end of the session. So I knew we were kind of winding down somewhere in my universe. And that was just like explosive. I so was not expecting that. And it was almost as if that portal shifted from my liver to my heart, my heart and my throat and my solar plexus. But mostly
because that is a part of you now. And I think that's what happened coming through your liver and into your heart. Now it is such a part of your being.
Yes.
That about. So yes. Pretty incredible how that happened. So
it was wow. I swear I finished the session. It took me a week. I know it doesn't usually take that long for everybody, but I literally felt that an intensity and that kind of otherworldliness for a week before I finally, quote unquote, came back to normal. But I don't know if everybody has that, but for me it was like, or maybe because I meditate every day, I'm very conscious of that otherworldly sensation. But after this session, that awareness of space is huge. Mm-hmm. It's just, this reality is so small in comparison
compared to that. Yeah.
To that spaciousness.
Yeah. And so after your session, how has it changed where you go in life now, or how you process this world? How has that changed you? And has it changed you in any way?
Well, I think I'm more willing to trust my own knowing. I'm willing to trust more in my team, my power team, who I officially met, because I had been, kind of seeing them, but I was able to see them more. I see them and I speak to them every day in my meditations. So I was able to see them more, and I'm more conscious of talking to them and asking them the questions that come up for me, and willing to listen for the response. I'm more, when I get on stage, I don't worry about musicians and their points of view. I'm more conscious of, I know what works for me, and I know that this is who I am. This is who I be. and they can't, I don't allow their point of view to be greater than mine. I mean, I'm just so much more of a conviction of my gift, you know, and that was something that, you know, was always pretty strong, but now it's like certain.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the big, it's probably one of the major things that comes out of these sessions is making that connection with your divine self, your higher self, or your spiritual team. And eventually people don't need me, because really we have it within ourselves to be able to connect without that third person. But a lot of times people don't know how to do that or how to get that in depth into it. Once
Right.
you have a session and you make that connection now, it's so much easier to go in there and connect with them, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
trust that information that they're sending back to you. So like I have people bring me 20 questions and we go over those 20 questions. But now you have that connection. You can go in there and ask those questions anytime.
That's very true. There's definitely an easier accessibility to that realm, or to that part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what did it feel like when you were channeling your divine self or your spirit guides, and when you were having them speak through you? What did that feel like?
Well, at first, you know, I had difficulty seeing my higher self, because I didn't really understand what that was truly about. Even though I had an awareness of it, I just didn't know how to really access them. And so this session really helped that a lot. And then when they came through, there was just this it was conviction. This is what's going on. It was very, there wasn't a lot of foo-foo or, you know, emotional. There was, the higher self is not like that. At least in my higher.
Yeah.
They're very straight to the point, boom, dot, dot, dot. You know, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually very comforting, because there wasn't a lot of, you know, all that other, we get caught up in our emotions and in the emotions of others, and we get pulled into sometimes the tides of life. And instead your higher self is like, boom, like, you know, looking at everything from the outside and go, yeah, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. There's not a lot of, don't get so caught up in that because you're being silly, which
Right.
is literally said to me. You're being silly. That's not who you are. You know that. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Thank you. Right. So it's like almost like your common sense, or your, that's not even the right word. It's more of like the truth. You know, just the basic, clear. This is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the view.
Yeah, and so just kind of stepping back a little bit, when you were a child, and did you know that you had music? Was that something that, like, from an early age, you knew what your gifts were?
I knew that I had, that I could sing. My parents asked me if I wanted to take piano lessons when I was about 7. And I was like, okay, you're 7. I was 7, yeah. And I started the piano lessons, and it was fun. It was interesting. I liked it. It was lulling. I can remember going with my best friend who also took piano lessons, and I would sit and listen, and I would lean against the piano and kind of like fall asleep. And it was my piano teacher who said to me, I want you to sing along with this melody. And I would sing along. And she'd say, you know what, Karen, you have a really nice voice. And I was like, oh. And then I remember saying to my best friend, I can sing. And she said, you can? And I said, yeah. And I started singing for her. And she said, wow, you can sing. And so that was like it was like this complete knowing that I could sing. It was just easy.
What a gift to know that early on, you know.
That early, yeah. And I when I would play the piano, my singing was always much further ahead than my piano playing. The piano to me was like tedious. I had to go through the exercises. It was, you know, but when I would sing it, I was just always really fast, and I hear melodies, and I could sing it. I could do anything. And that's how it was. I mean, I played piano until I was 21, and I started studying voice when I was 13. And I was very lucky because my parents were very supportive of my studies, so that by the time I was finished college, I, was very comfortable. So that when I went to start singing professionally, it was easy for me. It wasn't a big thing.
Mhm.
So yes, it was started at a very early age. And I didn't think I was going to be a singer. I became a singer just because I needed to make money.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how we fall into our careers sometimes. I mean, it's not by accident, but it
Right.
is because, it's easy for you. You don't have to really work at it, and it's natural.
Right.
It's just
And
natural.
shouldn't life be easy? Why shouldn't your gifts be used? Because it's easy for you. Like I'm not an accountant, and I admire people who are accountants because it's easy for them. And I'm like, yes, God is good because yes, I can call on you to do this stuff because it's not easy for me. It's not something that that gets me excited. It doesn't make my heart sing.
And it's funny that you would say that, because what I've learned through my lessons or through my sessions is that our educational system, obviously it needs to change. All of our systems need to change, which is part of what's happening right now. But the reason for that is because really, truly, when we come in, we should be evolving to what comes natural for us, what we want to learn, what we came to experience. But we're all forced into this educational system where we have to learn math, science, English, all of this other stuff, which is not natural for everybody.
Right.
Like if somebody like yourself comes in with music, you should be able to just explore that music and, expand that. If you're good at accounting, you should be able to explore that. And I know that through my sessions, that's what the message is coming across, is that we need to expound on the gifts that we come in with innately.
Exactly.
That's what we are supposed to do,
Yes,
So, in order to see a changed world, unfortunately, we have to go through all these other changes to make those things happen. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But I kind of want to explore a little bit about the childhood a little bit, because it always fascinates me. In the corporate world, I used to teach a class, and I would always ask my students, how early is the earliest to remember? And it would be so surprising to me when people would have memories before the age of 12 or 13. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how can you not remember things that happened before then? So I like to ask people, what are the earliest childhood memories that you have? How old were you in your childhood memories that you experienced?
How you mean? How young was I? What do I remember? Youngest memories?
Yeah, because this is another reason why I'm asking this question, because when we come into this world, we're already connected to the other side. And so as a child, we already have that natural connection to the inner space, the inner life. We're connected to our higher self, our divine self, our angels, our spirits. And I always used to tell, well, like babies, you see babies looking off in the corner and just cooing and laughing. And you're like, what do they see up there, And so some children stay connected a lot longer. And so sometimes they don't have memories. It's almost like, and then I've had clients who've said, like, I remember the day when my soul popped into my body, and I all of a sudden remember being consciously aware of being in this human little body, and I had to try to force my soul into this little body. And so it's always fascinating to me when I can talk to people and then they have the earliest memories they have are maybe like when they're 3. That's typically where people, kids remember. My earliest memory, I remember, I was like 3 or 4. But I'm just curious, what are your first childhood memories, or as far back as you can go being a child?
I think the memory that the most profound, because it was a changing point in my life, is I remember my dad carrying me on his shoulders, and the day that he stopped picking me up and said, you have to walk. That I remember. Now, the first thing I was saying before that is I remember when my sister died, and I was in school. I was 6 years old, And my sister was having an operation, and I knew she was having an operation. And you have to understand, my sister was born with congenital heart disease. She had a hole in her heart that progressively grew. And this operation was to go in and repair the heart because the hole had gotten too big. And I was in school, and I all of a sudden started crying. And my teacher came to me, and she said, "Karen, what is the matter?" I said, "My sister died." And they're like, no, because she'd been informed. She was like, no, your sister's fine. She's just having the operation today. Everything's fine. And I was just crying. And I knew that she had died. The other memory I have is when we went to see, I didn't go to my sister's funeral, but I did go see her body at the funeral home. And I remember seeing her body, and I remember saying, "She's not here." Mm-hmm. I said, she's not here. She's not in the body. That's just not her.
Mm-hmm. So you were aware of the soul at that point.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I remember asking my mother about death. I think I didn't ask it right away. I asked it later. And I said to her, "What happens when you die?" And she said, "Well, there are two schools of thought." And I remember her saying this. She said that there are some people who believe that when you die, you go to heaven and the angels sing and it's very beautiful and lovely. And then there's another school of thought that you reincarnate, so that every time you are born, you're born into another body, and you learn and you grow. And I said, "Well, obviously it's the second one." No doubt.
You just had that knowing, and you just knew. So
yeah, I was like 8 years old, and I just knew that just seemed so much more logical to me than a heaven with angels and la-di-da. Just seemed stupid.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because as children, we know a lot of those things, but then as we grow, because of our family dynamic or our societal, wherever we grow up in the world, it changes our perception of what is real and what our belief systems are. We get caught up in religion or whatever. So that molds us who we are. And so we lose that connection. And then a lot of times something will happen in a person's life to bring back that knowing. So did you ever have something happen in your life where, like, the dark night of the soul, I hear said a lot, or have you always kind of had that knowing and kept that with you all along? Or did you have anything that kind of forced you into your awakening to know more?
I think that was a pretty big forcing me into my awakening. I think when my father passed, and that was a good almost 20 years ago. My God. That was I guess, when a family member dies, it's always an impactive, not only to yourself, but to the whole family, right? To the whole structure of the family. When my father died, it was pretty intense for me and for my family. When they were about to put the casket in the ground, we heard this loud noise.
Is he alive in there? No.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, "No, I am not really dead. I am alive." And there was an energy of, yes, physically the body was dead, but he was still alive. And that was a powerful thing. And my mother and I kind of just looked at each other and laughed because we knew what that was. Uh-huh. And then I had several dreams. I'm a big dreamer in terms of having things happen to me in my dreams. And my dad kept coming to me in my dreams, and it was like, okay, So the last time he was so annoying. He was in the casket. The casket opens, and he sits up with his cigar in his mouth. He's like, "I'm alive!" And he comes out of the casket and he starts doing like these somersaults through space. And I'm like, "Okay, Dad." I woke up.
I get it.
I get it. You are not dead. Death is not real. You want me to get it. I got it. And finally, the dreams subsided because he was annoying.
Because I guess you confirmed that you got it, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, he finally.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this about your family dynamic, because we all pick our families before we come in here, and that's what I've learned through my sessions. So what did you gain out of the family dynamic that you selected or you grew up in? What did you gain from being in that family, or what did you learn?
Well, on my father's side, there was a very powerful dynamic for excellence, and being the best that you can be, and getting the best grades, and being getting past the stereotypes of African American. Was very, very powerful in that family. My grandfather was a chauffeur. My grandmother was a school teacher. So the dynamic of education was extremely intense, to the point of being overbearing at times. So there was the dynamic of of honoring what it came out of, slavery, etc. And then there was the dynamic of, but there's so much more. And that, I think, I got more from my mother in particular, maybe not so much from her family, who were immigrants from small islands off the coast of Africa. And their dynamic of being proud Americans, and taking your American dream and being it and doing it. And then my mother was extremely open in how I viewed the world, and she always tried to expose me to different kinds of music, and that there were different kinds of people, and not to be rigid in my thinking. Whereas my father was not necessarily rigid in his thinking, but he was also very hard, a little emotionally hard. So there were a lot of things that I gained from both sides. I guess everybody does, right?
Right.
Because I had an example of an African American man who was extremely intelligent and had 2 careers, and then I had a mother who was extremely supportive of my life and my goals, and was always there. Not that my father wasn't, but it was a different dynamic. Usually you have one parent that you get along better with than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that both sides of the choice that I made was a very good choice, because it made me very strong, and it also gave me this part of my life where I can explore the mystical.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I was very, very, very lucky. I chose it.
Yeah, you chose it. Yeah.
Like, I pat myself a pat on the back. I chose it. That I did, because it really created a strong foundation, and allows me to live the life I live. So.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I do want to ask you a question about your session, because we were able to connect with your sister in the session. So can you tell us what that was like, or how it felt when we were making that connection?
That was so cool, because it was like it created a bond that I know that I had with my sister, but I had forgotten I had. Mm-hmm. And it allowed me to know that she was still with me. And though I may not think about her every day, and I may not acknowledge her presence, but that I told her, I said, I wish you were here, because I know my mother's 90 years old. She's going to be 91, and I know that her time is limited. She could live to be 100, who knows? But I said, you were here so that I wouldn't have to go through this by myself. And she just confirmed, you're not by yourself.
Yeah, my body is vibrating right now as you just say that, because it's so true, and you're not. But getting that confirmation from her, letting you know that you're not doing that by yourself, and then she's going to be there on the other side to receive her as you receive her. I'm like, what a beautiful, beautiful knowing.
Yes. Yes, it was a beautiful, beautiful confirmation, and it was lovely to feel her energy as she spoke through me, because she was 10 when she died. So, she was, still had that energy. And when I spoke to her, I was that age too. So it was like literally time is not real. And the beauty of hypnosis is that you are in that time and it's real and it's beautiful. It was like being in a movie and literally feeling all of that. My sister, my big sister.
Yeah, and it was so fun to hear the energy as you were speaking. It was very childlike. The word, like, I thought it was pretty amazing. So I loved it. So
It's real.
So because soul regression is a lot about dealing with the trauma that's lodged in the soul, did you have any wounds in your soul that needed to be worked on or looked at while we were in your session?
Trying to remember. I think the first regression was of a man who 2 children who had lost his wife to the pestilence, which when I got home and I looked it up, it was like in the 1400s, and in fact it was the Dark Ages, and this whole regression was very dark. It was like, God, it's dark, I'm depressed, it was lonely, sad, and I was like, why are you showing me this lifetime? And finally when everything went color, it was really cool, because it was like finally there was a moment in this man's life, one of my lives, where there was joy, and I was like, oh, so we're finally getting to the crux. What's going on here? And there before him was this beautiful woman, and he was the essence of love. He was finally love, and she was love, and you could feel their love, and that was for me, I've had lots of relationships in my life and never really have gotten to that love. And knowing that it exists, because after being hurt many times in many different relationships and or feeling empty, that lifetime showing me that was like, don't lose hope, don't give up on love, that the experiences that you've had, obviously I needed to have those experiences to honor the power of what love can be. And so I think that was one of the biggest, I didn't understand why they were showing me that life, because I was like, gosh, this is awful. And then it was like Technicolor, boom, color. And this beautiful presence. And unfortunately, we were not able to be together in that lifetime. And my higher self said that I'm finally going to have the opportunity to be this love. So I'm waiting. I'm not in a rush, because I know it's going to show up when it shows up, and hurrah, wow.
Yeah,
cool.
Beautiful. And I know I asked, I think if you were carrying any sadness still from that lifetime, I think we had to do a little clearing of some of that sadness, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Because we do sometimes carry the trauma from one life to another. If it's not processed in a particular lifetime, then we carry it over. So a lot of times we go in and we do clear out some of that trauma that's lodged there. And a lot of times in lifetimes too, people will build up walls around their heart when that happens. And like in your lifetime and now, if you've had relationships that haven't been the best or whatever, we build those walls up. And so then when people come in for sessions, then we clear out those wounds of the soul. And so that's always really exciting and fun to be able to do that for people and help them. So
yeah.
What do you think is the most profound message that you received out of your soul regression session?
The most profound message
or knowledge that you gained from the experience?
I think that one of the most important things to remember is that this illusion is an illusion. and that time is, there's no such thing as time, that all your lives are happening at the same time, and being able to tap into one, or having the ability to be shown a lifetime and how it pertains to you, and to get rid of let's call it universal help, right? Because we make a call out for help at various times in our life, and then we have these other souls that that attach to us, that connect to us, that kind of like vicariously live through us. And when you can release them, when you can acknowledge, wow, that's not even me, no, you got to go. That's a powerful thing, because I have other techniques where I can release attachments or entities, whatever you want to call that, because because there is no time, there's all this energy is floating around on the other side of the veil. They say the other side of the veil, but there is no other side of the veil. The veil is right here. It's right now. So I think that became clearer, because as you speak to the attachments, as you speak to them and get them to recognize, hey, you get out of here, go do your thing. You have a whole other path, and you're wasting your time because you made some decisions, or you made some choices that are, you don't need to make those anymore. And that's the beauty of this technique, of the regression technique, where you can literally let go of energies that are stuck to you, where you get stuck and you're sharing a stuckness. And it's like, what are we doing? Okay, this is the time. This is a very powerful time, because we can finally truly be ourselves. And we don't need to, we can choose it, but we don't need to have other entities working with us in our lifetimes. We can grow and move beyond that,
And so did you have attachments in your sessions that we were able to work with and release?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either, so I just thought I'd ask that, because
I've done a lot of work with that.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cool to be able to talk to them.
Yeah. And it's so amazing. So,
and realize why are they actually there? Because sometimes some people don't want to leave until you talk to them.
Exactly. And they come to us for various reasons, which brings me to my next question. Now, you have taken the soul regression workshop, learning how to do this method. Do you just want to share with us a little bit of that experience and what that was like, what you learned, what was profound for you?
Great class, by the way. I highly recommend it if you're interested in hypnotherapy at all, and how the psyche works, and how we are brilliant at dividing ourselves up into pieces. Lots of times we are brilliant at calling in help and getting help. I've had 4 sessions. I've used the technique with 4 separate people, including one person from the class. And it's a very powerful technique, and it's quick. Okay. I'm always looking for, get me to the fastest. Psychotherapy lasts 25 years. No, thank you. It's time to be quick. This is a different time in our history where we can get through this and grow and be at the level that we should be as humankind, And a lot of people are holding on to the past and not allowing themselves to move forward because they're, quote unquote, let's say, honoring their ancestors, or honoring some program or some cultural thing, and we're not moving forward. And this technique literally gets you to have a different perspective that you wouldn't have if you didn't peruse those different dimensions, right? And the technique itself is brilliant because it asks questions, and you're getting it's the person that takes you there. We're just guiding them to greater awareness. It's them that's doing the work, though. As soon as you get the conscious mind out of the way, so that you can tap into that unconscious, so that you can have those, because that's where all the crazy is, we've created all of these points of view and layers of stuff that just needs to be tapped into and say, okay, hey, your higher self can help you with this. You got this. You can let that go. You don't need to have this anymore. And they can see the logic of it, and they can move through the emotion of it and just let it go. Beautiful technique, really, really powerful. And I've done 4 times, and I'm looking forward to. I need to send a message out to my friends. Okay, who wants to be my next guinea pig? Because obviously I'm just a novice. I'm not as good as Shay, but it's just fascinating to see where you can go with it.
Absolutely.
As soon as someone can just lay down and relax, you have all the answers. Every single one of us has all the answers that'll make us happier and lead more fulfilling lives. If you just have to get out of the way, and sometimes you need a little help, and that's what this technique does. It's like, okay, lay down. We're gonna help you get there.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I love it, and I'm so happy and so grateful, thankful that you are embracing it, because we need so many more light workers out there in the world helping bring this technique about and helping us heal the wounds of the soul, because we all carry those wounds, and it's so important that we work on it. We can only do so much by ourselves, so it's good to be able to do that.
Yes.
So now I just have a few quick questions regarding right now and the time that we're going through right now with this coronavirus. What are you doing, first of all, during this time of social distancing? And then what perceptions are you taking on from all of this that's going on?
All right. So because light workers are people who are sensitive. If you're sensitive and you're having a lot of anxiety or sadness or fear, it's not yours. I mean, you're picking it up from everybody, because most people do not stop and slow down. I've been very blessed because I'm an entrepreneur. So a lot of my life, I get to determine, when I work and where I work and how I work. A lot of people have not had the awareness of stopping and being home and having choices, because they work for somebody else. They go to work and they live a quote unquote a normal life, and they never really go deep. This opportunity is a big opportunity for people to go deep, and a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that. So I've been very aware of those energies. I've been aware of the panic and the fear and the, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? How am I going to pay my bills? And I'm aware of that energy. And sometimes, like in the very beginning, it was very intense. It's finally starting to, it's not as intense. People are a little bit more comfortable. They're enjoying their time with their families. They're enjoying watching movies that they've been wanting to watch. They're enjoying reading that book or those books that they've been wanting to read. So there's a lot of introspection going on right now that I'm aware of. I also, for me personally, I just yesterday made the decision to detox. So I was on vegetables. I made a huge pot of vegetable soup, and I got extra vegetables and apples and some other fruit. And so I'm personally wanting to decompress. And I've been getting a lot of information that prior to now I didn't really ask to know, but I've stepped into, okay, I really want to know more. I would like more information now. And I have been getting that information about things that are going on behind the scenes that not a lot of people know about. We've spoken about this, Shay. And there's I had a certain bit of anxiety come up around that, because I don't know, because the unknown is always a little bit of, oh my God, I don't know what that is. I'd like to use the example of taking a walk last night, and I saw something on the road. It was at night, so you don't see very well. And I was like, oh my God, it's a spider. And then it's like, oh no, it's just a piece of palm tree. Right? You go into that.
Right. Yeah.
Or your adrenals kick in, and it's like, oh, that's not what it is. So that idea of the unknown is always that little bit of fear because you don't know what it is. But I know that something wonderful is coming out of all of this. And whatever gets exposed, I was listening to, we talked about Lee Harris, this wonderful psychic, and he said that this is a year of blinding clarity. And I'm like, wow. He said that before 2020 started.
Yeah, he gives profound messages every single month. And they're pretty right on, usually when he gives them too.
Coming through this blinding clarity and things that are going to be exposed. Good. Let's stir the pot. Let's bring things to the surface so that we as humankind can move up. We need to, this is ascension time. This is not, sitting on your butt doing nothing, which actually that's not true. Because sitting on your butt doing nothing is actually turning it into introspection. And introspection is good because it's taking you out of this illusion where we're so caught up in making money and getting the best car and going to the, that nobody's taking a moment to listen to the birds singing or, smell the roses.
And, it's funny that you would say that because what has come through in my sessions a lot is that we have been robbed of our leisure. We've been all caught up in this 9 to 5, going to work, making money, paying the bills, and we've forgotten how to be in our leisure and live in joy and in peace. And this is now giving us that opportunity to be able to do that. But it is so foreign to so many people that it's very hard to make that transition and to go in and do that reflection, that inner work. But that's the reason why this is happening, because we have to clear out the trauma that's lodged in the soul, the programming, the patterns that we've done. All of that is caught up in the grid. And so the grid is what we live by. It's our truth. It's our reality. And as each of us go in and reflect and heal the wounds of the soul, change the patterns, change the perception, it changes the grid, which changes humanity. So it's all connected. It's all connected. So if we all go in and do all of our own work, we're healing the planet. So it's beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. And I also have started walking. Speaking of the planet, I walk 3 miles every day. It's been 3.5 weeks now where I've been consistent. I used to do that a lot before, and then I went through a whole period of pulling back from it and getting lazy. But I don't want. This isn't about reprimanding or punishing yourself or beating yourself up, because you don't want to beat yourself up either, because when you're ready, you're ready. And you step into that when you're ready to step into it. This has been my process, and it's been good, because yesterday I woke up this morning, I felt great. My body's like, oh yay, because I put the wine away. That's one of my things. My wine and I have had a great rapport for many lifetimes. And I was like, I just want to just treat my body gently and get ready to clear out the toxins from my body, because I think that's important for what's coming up, because there's going to be a lot of people looking for answers for themselves. I was talking to a woman today. She said, I've been a teacher and I'm really thinking of not going back. There are going to be a lot of people who want to step into their greatness. They want to step what makes them happy.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, this is, because I hear people say this all the time, I just can't wait for it to get back to normal. Well, it's never going to get back to normal, because we're going to always be reinventing a new normal. And there is more coming. This is not the end of it. This is just the beginning of the changes that are coming. And so it's going to be hardest for those who just want to hold on to the past and hold on to the way things were. So just release any attachment to the way things were, and it will help make that whole journey so much smoother as we move forward through all these changes, because there are a lot of changes still coming. And I know as a light worker, I've been guided for the last 2 years to prepare for this time. And they said, this time is coming, And just make sure you have food and water on hand and stay calm, because this is coming. So I've been prepared for it. So, you know, I've been able to help those around me stay calm. And that's what we're here to do, is to help those around us, you know, and just do what we can.
Yes.
Help the world and help the planet. So, yes. Well, is there any last messages you would like to send out into the world before we end this session today?
My message to the world is, that's a big thing. My message to the world is to take some time to smell the roses. And if you can have a session, if you can have a soul regression session with Shay, please get one, because it will change your life. If you've got some questions and you're wondering about your purpose, if you're lost, if you feel stuck, contact Shay, because she really knows what she's doing. You can contact me later, but I mean, I have other techniques, but mostly this technique is really, really, it really helps you to see what you maybe are unwilling to see, and that your higher self is ready to show you. If you're willing to ask a question about it, then you're ready to see it. And it's really that simple. It really is. Yeah. So that, my message to the world is, yes, get a regression session, or if there's any other technique that pulls you, there are a myriad of ways to feeling better about yourself and about your life. So there's not just one way, but, you know, keep your eyes open. Yeah. If you're watching this, then maybe there's something about this that has brought you here today to this. So follow.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Karen, so much. I appreciate you being here with us today, and I love you, my soul sister. So namaste.
Thank you so much. Namaste. We'll see you.